sera sur Porsche 911 GT3. Vous aurez Marcio Moreau qui sera sur Porsche 911 GT3 également. Et puis on surveillera Blodo Solieri sur Lamborghini Ricard Super Copéo Evo. Sans oublier Bernard Labert et Alain Valens qui seront sur McLaren. Tout à l'heure. En tous les cas, Eugène Pesani sera présent également avec sa Porsche 911. Rodrigue Guillon sera sur Aston Martin Vintage. Et Fernando
Well, hello and a very warm welcome to France. My name's Harry Benjamin and I'll be guiding you throughout the weekend's coverage, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on board. We're at the Circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet, not too far from Marseille in the south of France. 15 turns here, 5.8 kilometres, 3.6 miles, and we're here for round one of the GT Cup Open Europe Series, and it is very exciting to be here as well. And it's getting colder as the day goes by. We had a lovely day yesterday for free practice, but today it started off sunny, but has gotten more grey by the minute and windier as well. So we shall see how that fares. But we've got a brilliant lineup, a 12-car lineup for the first race of the GT Cup Open Series, and I'm very pleased to say that it is Elliot alongside me as well, who's going to guide us all through it. There's your pole man, Dino Zamparelli, who's been on it all weekend actually in that Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car in the number 28 E2P Racing, having a brilliant time with it right now. The number 26 of Arta Janos is currently lining up in second for the Q1 by EMG Motorsport team. Seem fairly happy with that. A good run into turn one, which can be quite tight, but there's a lot of runoff area, which may well prove useful. Masij Blazek in the number 24 is in third for A&P Racing Team PTT Tech Support, who win the competition of longest racing name, I think, in the grid. And then in fourth place, Andrzej Lewandowski, who's actually come back. He said this is he's going to see how he goes this weekend, and then if he likes what he sees, he'll carry on in the AM category. And so far, doing pretty well to line up as the leading AM car as well. Pole on the AMs. Eugenio Pisani is behind him in fifth in that number 44 car. The Kane Racing, a new entry this year. The 2018 Italian GT Cup champion with 6 wins is Eugenio Pisani. And then Rodrigo Guillon will line up in 6th. In the 191 car, the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin, the sole Aston Martin on the grid. And here's my favourite. It's got to be Albert Estragues. I'm not biased. I just love the car. And how can you not? The 126, the Ford Trans Am. Who cannot love that car? And then it's the 190 behind him of Fernando Navarrete Jr., who lines up in 8th. Alongside him in that team is his father, Fernando Navarrete Sr. Then it's number 12 car, Glauco Solieri, lines up in 9th for AKM Motorsport from Bologna. And then as we head towards the rear of the field is Jakob Dwinicki in the 100 car for Alda Motorsport. Again, another new full-time entry this year, coming from the Renault Clio Cup Central Europe. And then it is Marcio Mauro and Fernando Fortes. But let's run through the grid proper, shall we? On the front row is Dino Zamparelli, who leads away from Artur Janos, who is in second. And Dino Zamparelli had quite the marker there, 6/10 back. But then it's third, it's Maciej Blazek, Andrzej Lewandowski in fourth for the number 66 car. The man, 31-year-old from Poland. In fifth place, Eugenio Pisani lines up alongside Rodrigo Guillon, the Belgian 38-year-old in that Aston Martin Vantage car, the orange and white Pro Sport. Seventh is Albert Estragues in that lovely Trans Am Euro Ford Mustang. He's alongside Fernando Navarrete Jr. in the 190 Porsche. Glauco Solieri is in ninth in the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo alongside Jakob Dwinicki in 10th. Marcio Mauro is 11th in the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup Gen 2 car alongside Fernando Fortes, who rounds up at the rear of the field as we get going for our formation lap. And we should be in store for a pretty exciting race, Elliot.
Yeah, lots of drivers, lots of Porsches. I was going to say lots of different cars, but mostly Porsches.
There are lots of different cars, 14 cars.
Yeah, and lots of new drivers as well to this series, including our poleman Dino Zamparelli, who is perhaps best known for an incredible save in the wet in a Formula 2 car at Spa back in the early 2010s, and of course being one of Bristol's greatest racing drivers of all time. Absolutely,
and his dad actually is Mike was an F1 powerboat racer. So racing really does run in his blood there for Dino Zamparelli. Italian in his blood, but he is from Bristol, and actually has had a great run of it recently in the Porsche Carrera Cup GB 2016, 2017, 2018. Was the vice champion of that. So he comes in with some good pedigree and good knowledge of that Porsche car, which I think has made him a favourite, actually, I think, to win the race, because he was 6/10 ahead of second place man Artur Janos in qualifying.
Yeah, and he's great for headlines as well, because it's like, do you know Dino? And, and stuff like that. And he beat a pole to pole today in Artur Janos.
And that's all you really want, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's going to be difficult for him to break away here because, I mean, there are so many Porsches. He's in a Porsche. The cars behind are fairly similar to his, so there's not going to be any particular pace differential at the start beyond what the driver brings to the car. Obviously, we do have the variety of having the Trans Am Euro here, which is, we'll talk about that more later because it's a very interesting chassis to have. And of course, we have a mixture of experience in this lineup, and especially in turn one, that can be potentially chaotic.
Yep, so we're nearly getting underway for race one, which is will be around 50 minutes long as we warm up on the formation lap. We'll then have another qualifying session tomorrow with the GT Open cars, two ahead of a combined race. So these cars will also combine for race two with the GT Open. So we'll have a 30-car grid field for that race tomorrow afternoon, which will be really fun. But we're nearly underway. There's the Pro Sport Aston Martin just in front of the Kane Porsche. And Kane actually a new team this year, but they've got a lot of experience backing them as well. So it's going to be pretty tight, especially in that midfield, I think, as they line up for their rolling start. They'll go 2 by 2. As Dino Zamparelli really making sure he gets those brakes warmed up in time for a good run down to that turn one. Tricky turn one and turn two there, because I think previous history, we've seen a lot of cars run wide there, and I think we're probably going to see that again.
Yeah, Paul Ricard does have quite a few corners where track limits is very relevant, and that can lead to penalties. We have seen it before in GT Cup Open Europe. Often it's time penalties, but it can also be served in pit stops as well if it's you know, if you're a repeat offender. Now the safety car is going to pit off into the pits and leave these cars to race.
Dino Zamparelli will lead the field round with Artur Janos just behind him, and they go 2 by 2 all the way down to Marcio Mauro and Fernando Fortes, who will round out the field as they come round that final corner. Dino Zamparelli on pole, and it will be all eyes to the lights as they come down the start-finish straight. 5 red lights, all eyes on them. and foot to the floor, and we are racing in what seemed like forever, but actually Dino Zamparelli has fallen behind there of Artur Janos, so not the best start for him, but he will have the inside line going into turn 1. What can they do on the brakes? We're nearly going 3 wide there in the background. There's a Lamborghini off wide in the back, but Dino Zamparelli does maintain first position as we go through turns 1 and 2, and actually it all seems like they're playing fairly nicely. No cars running wide, and Dino Zamparelli now starting to make a little bit of a gap already back from Artur Janos as they find their positions there. Porsche in the background, they're getting the braking all wrong, and that's going to really come under pressure there. I think that's from the Trans Am car as we come out of going to that tricky sort of turn 4, 5 and 6. Dino Zamparelli leads the way, though, from Artur Janos. Maciej Blasek stays in 3rd. Andrzej Lewandowski is in 4th. Eugenio Pisani 5th. Fernando Navarrete in 6th. Now here is where we're going to see perhaps the effect of Slipstream and how useful it is as that Ford Mustang in the background pulls out alongside, ready to dive down on the brakes. Will he get it done in time? We'll see him come through. He does get through. Very nicely done there for the number 125 car.
But the battle at the front hasn't ended there. Zamparelli is still trying to hold off Artur Janos. He's actually weaving slightly, having to defend going into turn 10 there. You can hear the tyres squealing. That's lateral sliding on the tyres of the top 2 cars there. Janos really wants to get past Zamparelli. Yeah,
I said he was starting to forge a gap there right at the start, but actually he's not able to get away right now, and that qualifying advantage doesn't seem to be coming in handy here in the race, with Janos really able to stick with him through the corners, crucially. And you said it earlier, you don't win this race on straights, you win them in the corners, and Zamparelli coming under a bit of pressure there.
Yeah, and those direction changes where, you try and go inside on the entry corner, that is some track limits braking there from drivers further back. Going to the final corners, a lot of pressure where the car is turning and the driver looks like they could have a chance to overtake, but suddenly you're going into another corner and you're going to have to duck out of it to avoid a crash coming to the end of the first lap. So Dino Zamparelli, we do have the timing being quite far down this pit straight, so there's a long wait. Zamparelli crosses the line 0.6 seconds ahead of Artur Janos, and they're actually side by side further behind. That's Maciej Blasek and Andrzej Lewandowski further back and forth in the Lamborghini.
And that came racing car. We're going to have a look down the inside there. The blue Porsche, we'll see whether he got the move done. Did he? Doesn't look like he did for Eugenio Pisani. Maintains 5th. He's behind Lewandowski at the moment, who's doing very well in the AM class, currently 4th overall. But he's gonna come under pressure though, because that Kane racing car is really not giving up there. He's going to have the up and under here, and it's all going to be out getting onto that back straight now. Fernando Navarrete in the 190 in front of him.
Yeah, so Pisani will want to reclaim 5th here because he was the faster car on the opening lap. It's very difficult though. But we've actually seen the field spread out quite a little bit now, 12 seconds covering the top 12 cars. So that's close enough for every single driver to have benefit the slipstream, but not close enough for every driver to be in overtaking distance essentially right now.
No, and although Janos was right on the back of Zamparelli, that gap is now up to 8 tenths. But as you said, crucial for slipstream, but Zamparelli's going to be the only one not getting any.
Yeah, and the Lamborghini is really, really loose on the brakes. The brake bias there probably isn't bedded in for now, or it could be tyre pressures as well, because it just did not look happy going on the entry to the corner, and that's dropped it back from the top 3 cars, and he's really under pressure now actually from the 2 cars behind.
Yeah, that beautiful blue 44 car, Eugenio Pisani at the wheel, the 2018 Italian GT Cup champion. He's a race winner in previous championships. He'll want to do it again as well in International GT Open, but unable to do anything right now. Dino Zamparelli leads the way from Artur Janos. Maciej Blasek sort of maintaining 3rd in a bit of no man's land, actually. 1.9 back from Janos, but then Andrzej Lewandowski in the AM car is 3.8 seconds back from him. So we'll see whether that gap can shorten. Fernando Navarrete is 5th, Eugenio Pisani 6th, Rodrigo Guillon 7th, Albert Estragues in 8th, Glauco Solieri 9th, Marcio Mauro in 10th, Jakob Duenicki 11th, and Fernando Fortes currently in 12th. It's an all Porsche top 3 and bottom 3 right now, with some Lamborghinis and Aston Martin chucked in the middle.
Yeah, it was much like GT Cup Open Europe last year, although the Lamborghinis were usually further ahead, but this time, you can see on the entry of the corners, it's really unhappy. I think as soon as he goes to steer as well, the rear of the car isn't really responding, and it's just kind of throwing him off. But thankfully he is keeping it on track, and he's actually staying ahead. it looks like he's actually got a bit more straight line speed as well. So that's really helping him hold on to 4th place right now. And you can actually see a bit of tyre smoke coming out from that right rear. So he's locking the brakes. I am fairly confident, although I'm not a racing driver, this is a brake bias problem he has right now with the rears.
Right. Well, as we say that, Dino Zamparelli sets the fastest lap time as well to go over a second clear now. So it seems like he might have been able to find his rhythm, and that's something we're seeing from a lot of the drivers. As also we're seeing from a lot of drivers flashing tactics as well. They were told off about that in qualifying, but they seem to be doing it in the race. Okay, as he goes down the inside, he's going to make a move on the Lamborghini. No, Lewandowski manages to hold on for now ahead of Fernando Navarrete Jr. But Navarrete Jr. all over the back of him as we come on to sort of the second half of the straight. That slipstream's going to be so ever powerful. He'll want to pull out to the right-hand side. Late on the brakes here.
Throw it down the inside of turn 10, but he can't quite do it, yeah, because it's the faster line on the outside coming in. And you can actually see that the right rear tyre of the 4th place car, Lewandowski, keeps smoking. Now, I don't know if that's his locking or it's actually slipping and that's just kind of burning on the track. But it's quite worrying from there, but he is holding on to the position. We are totally focusing on this battle for 4th place right now as Dino Zamparelli pushes away in the lead 1 second ahead. But you know, if these drivers behind, you know, do have the pace to challenge Zamparelli, they are really stuck behind Lewandowski right now.
And them two battling is meaning that the blue number 44 car of Pisani is starting to come into play a little bit as well. So he's going to come up on the back of the Porsche and have a little look as the brake. Oh, I can see you grimacing in the box.
It's also Lamborghinis are very famous for spitting out flames at the back of the car as well. A little bit of unburnt fuel going at the back there. However, we are seeing it from the bottom of the car. We need more shots of the rear of the car to totally identify what this is, because we don't want to make too many assumptions. But it is leading to some exciting racing for 4th place. It's a battle that's going into the next lap. Dino Zamparelli, another fastest lap, now 1.497 seconds ahead. So he's feeling pretty confident up front as we continue to follow this battle for 4th between Lewandowski, Navarrete and Pisani.
Yeah, Lewandowski, of course, former champion 2018 of the GT Open Cup, 5 wins to his name, so he's not going to be easy to overtake as he really takes that defensive line going into that corner. So really, he knows he's under pressure here from the two Porsches who are absolutely chomping at the bit. The first of which is that white, red and orange Porsche of Navarrete Jr. And then behind in the all blue with a couple of white stripes on the bonnet, Pisani in the number 44 Came Racing car. And Dino Zamparelli, though, leading the way quite happily. It looked like he was coming under a bit under pressure in the start. Oh, and as we have a look
and he's going to hold him off
for 4th. Can Lewandowski hold off? He can. So no way through for Navarrete Jr. there, but he's going to get the up and under and have more traction coming out the back of that corner. But crucially, Lewandowski now has the inside line, but it's a fast right-hander. So the outside line could prove useful. He's done him already before the braking zone.
Yeah,
he's done him.
He over-defended the entries of the corner. He actually I think he almost pushed him over the curbs. What that meant was he wasn't turning in time for the next part of the chicane, and that allowed Navarrete to just simply have more traction on the exit and easily get by. Pisani is going to try and go down the inside. That is very, very close there. You know, a lot of drivers do it. It's a very tricky corner to make a move at, and we can see both of these drivers are getting very racy. We're only 3 laps into the season and we're already having some pretty dicey moments here at Paul Ricard. Dino Zamparelli improving on his pace again. He's now 2 seconds clear ahead. You know, these drivers will want to be on the podium, so before they hand over to their teammates. So this is a really close battle right now. Is he going to try the final corner? Probably not. You know, the cameras are quite deceptive here because although it looks like he's diving down the inside, what it actually is, you know, the apex of the corner is actually slightly further ahead. Here's a replay of the move. Actually pushes him on the brakes over the curb. Being on the curb actually enabled the Porsche to rotate very safely, as we can see there. And that meant as it came into the corner, the Lamborghini had to take a lot less apex speed into that second part and meant the Porsche was already straight going into the exit when the Lamborghini was still turning.
And you can see Lewandowski is struggling perhaps because he's falling back from Navarrete Jr. now, who is now 8/10 ahead of him in 4th. So Pisani half a second back as well. But Navarrete Jr. has just gone fastest as well.
Yeah, in the speed trap. So now he's freed of that slipstream. He's actually gone faster, which would suggest, you know, he's just got a faster car right now.
I would suspect that actually he'll be able to catch up to the back of Blazek quite quickly because Blazek is kind of in no man's land a little bit right now.
Yeah, he isn't improving on his pace either, whereas the drivers around him are. Dino Zamparelli, fastest lap, 2:09.673. Janos, 10.308. And Navarrete in fourth, a 10.874. So he's actually going faster than the car in third place. We're currently watching them again now, and it's getting
Still
pretty
battling.
dicey at that chicane again. I think that's going to be the place to watch all weekend now, that corner.
Pisani nearly 6/10 up on that lap to Lewandowski. The battle for fifth we are focusing on right now. Zamparelli leads the way after 4 laps of racing, 2.5 seconds the gap between first and second. And then it's Blazek and Navarrete Jr. who, after battling with Lewandowski, managed to get through and free himself up to catch third place. Pisani still struggling to find a way through. He's getting closer and closer, but Lewandowski putting that Lamborghini in all the right places so far.
Yeah, and Lewandowski's actually just at his personal best middle sector and speed trap figure. So I think that's because he was in the slipstream of Navarrete ahead. So he was benefiting from that because previously he had been on his own leading that trio of cars. So that's actually going to enable him to almost stay ahead of Pisani now as well, because he's getting that benefit. It's very difficult because you know you need to keep life in the tyres as much as you need to get past early on. And here's a replay of that move being completed, the second part.
And this is how he did it. Navarrete Jr. didn't even have to wait until he got to the braking zone, because he'd already done him side by side, and away he pulls. Although he still is in shot, so perhaps Lewandowski able to sort of maintain a rhythm now, which is sort of what the lap times he's doing at the moment.
Yeah, he's improving.
Yeah, he is starting to improve, so maybe he's finally getting a bit of a rhythm and getting that brake issue under control, what we think might be a potential brake bias issue.
Yeah, and the car in third, Blazek, he's actually kind of the slowest of this top 6 cars, 2:11. Zamparelli and Janos is in 2:10s, as is Navarrete Jr. in fourth. So he is closing in. But we're looking at Pisani in 6th place now. He really wants 5th place. Yeah,
he keeps trying in that exact corner to try and get the up and under and carry that more momentum through onto the straight. But is he close enough this time to have a look? We'll see them in the very background of the shot as we look at Dino Zamparelli, currently leading the way by 2.8 seconds, which seems to have stabilised a little bit between him and Janos. Zamparelli, absolutely the class of the field so far, leading from pole, as we have a little look there from Pisani, thinking better of it. But this is exactly how Navarrete Jr. got by, although it wasn't quite as close, but he's going to have so much more traction off the back of that curb because he went wider going in there. Is he going to be able to use that slipstream now? Which way is he going to go? Is he going to think about it? Is he going to dart out to the right?
No. He's only given the opportunity to go on the inside, which is obviously where he wants him to go because he wants the faster outside line up ahead. So good driving there to defend the position, but it is costing him time to the cars ahead. Navarrete has gone fastest again in the speed trap. He is quite quickly closing in on Blazek up ahead. So 1.5 seconds between those two now for 3rd and 4th places. Further back, we've actually got Albert Stregas holding off Glauco Solieri for 8th place in the AM class. They are 0.8 of a second apart. Solieri, the faster driver right now.
And it just seems like watching this battle that Lamborghini of Lewandowski is just so much weaker through the corners compared to that Porsche.
Yeah, it's particularly on the brakes. I think it's just on the brakes, and then you know the pure grunt of a Lamborghini just pushes it out those corners very, very well and keeps it ahead. But another thing to look out for is how these cars ride the curbs. We've seen Dino Zamparelli up front, very, very comfortable, just kind of bouncing the car over them and getting the car rotated that way by having the inside wheels up in the air and kind of steering with the other two. So it's a good job there. We're seeing more battles. In fact, he's got a lot closer this time round. So I wonder if there was an error there by Blazek ahead.
The battle for 3rd shaking up here between Blazek and Navarrete, who now that he's broken free of Lewandowski, he's got a podium in his sights. As we look at Lewandowski, still able to hold off Pisani. So we've got a sort of two mini battles happening on the same stretch of track with the Trans Am just in the background there.
Yeah, and 6 kilometers an hour faster in the speed trap was Navarrete in 4th there. So really closed in down the pit straight. That was where all the time gain came on this lap.
And Navarrete really closing in there. You can see the split times on your screen. 1.2 seconds faster last time around than Blazek. And there Lewandowski really having to once again take that incredibly defensive line. But it looks like the Porsche is all up in the back. He started out and he'll have the inside line. But is that going to be any use going into the braking zone? We know that Lamborghini is not happy on its brakes right now. It looks like he may well, Pisani, be able to get it done before the corner. No, he can't. And then Lewandowski sweeps round the outside to take the corner and hold on to 5th place.
Yeah, he essentially had to get off the accelerator earlier then, because he had more steering to do to get into the corner, whereas Lewandowski could keep the steering a little more open because he took that wider line in, and therefore he could cut off the entry, so he couldn't make that move behind. So good driving once again by Lewandowski. Hasn't got the fastest car at the moment, but knows how to keep it ahead. The battle for 3rd place ahead, still very, very close. 0.3 of a second between those two. He's darting around in his mirrors now, so it looks like he's got a little bit of bumper damage there. So possibly we've had a little bit of contact, maybe just under the Came logo, or it could just be a little bit of a splitter there on the Porsche. Coming down the pit straight, looking which way the wind's going. They're going to have a crosswind right now, so it's not going to be particularly beneficial unless he goes on the right-hand side, going to turn 1, which he has picked. And you can see he's out the wind there. He's going to be faster going to turn 1, but not as late on the brakes, and he stays behind.
But crucially, he keeps taking that wider line to try and get the up and under and carry that momentum through, which might help him, and it does so by the looks of it. Navarrete Jr. going down the inside, and he's through already for 3rd place on Blase, but he's got a bit deeper to the corner, which will allow Blase to come back at him, but he just about holds off the number 24 car, who falls down to 4th. That is a switch for position. Navarrete Jr. up into 3rd. Will Blase be able to do anything about it and come back at him? No, you can see, look, visibly the gap is already increasing.
Yeah, it's a brilliant drive by Navarrete Jr. at the moment. He went even faster in the Spree trap, 241 kilometers an hour. That's several kilometers an hour faster than even he was doing a lap ago, which was his personal best and the best of anyone. And that's actually enabled the Lamborghini behind to really close in. So that battle there, where they were going a little too late into all those corners, kind of outbraking each other, has enabled the battle for the podium to become a 4-car battle, and it looks very much like it was going to be 1 car for Blasek at first, and then Navarrete closing in, and maybe possibly even Rodrigo Guillon in the, I believe it is the Aston Martin, in 7th place to close in on here as well.
It's very tight between these 4. Sometimes it splits off into 2 and 2, but that Lamborghini of Lewandowski doing an absolutely brilliant job, actually, maintaining a sort of consistent pace now and able to just stick with them. Looked quite slow, looked like I thought he would plummet through the field, actually. I really thought Pisani would have got through by now, but he hasn't been able to, as Zamparelli leads the way. Nearly 4 seconds now between him and Janos after 7 laps. So Zamparelli absolutely storming it as he sets a personal best speed. But it's actually Fernando Navarrete who goes fastest in the speed trap right now with a 241.
Yeah, and now Navarrete won't have that benefit down the straights now, but he was losing around half a second a lap to the top 2 cars while he was battling for position. He should be roughly on their pace again. This time around he's a second slower, but of course he did make that pass. It's now a question that he's now got drivers in his mirrors, whereas previously he was chasing the cars. Is he going to drive a little differently because of that?
Lewandowski all over the back of Blasek now. It seems like the Lamborghini has come alive a bit.
Second fastest car on track right now, actually, Lewandowski. So
well, he's found something all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think it's potentially, as the fuel load gets a little lower, having that maybe possibly extreme brake bias has potentially helped him. And Visani trying to go for a move there. He is all over. He can almost touch the rear of that Lamborghini with the front of his car.
He's almost just pushing him through the corners a little bit, letting him know, I'm here, I'm here. Oh, but he gets it a bit wrong there and has a little bit of a squiggle going out wide, and that's going to let Lewandowski off a little bit coming on to the Minstrel Straight.
Yeah, and because of how much the Lamborghini does accelerate out those corners, you can get really close because there's no worry of almost, properly bumping into the back of it, because the Lamborghini will naturally pull away a little bit on the exits.
See how much that Porsche Brewer wing shakes under braking.
They've just knocked over a poor cone at the chicane. R.I.P. cone.
I think, well, did we get a message about that? No.
Yep, actually, it's not a cone. Timing screen. Drivers must respect track limits, floppies and bollards.
Floppies, technical term there.
Yeah.
Very technical. Stino Zamparelli leads the way, 5.3 seconds now. Oh, but look at that, way out wide for Pisani, who is probably struggling a little bit in a bit of dirty air as well. We've got a lot of marbles on track, especially off the racing line from all the different racing categories we have this weekend at Circuit Paul Ricard. And Lewandowski now looks like the dominant car there, all over the back of Blasek, who is in serious trouble because Navarrete Jr. is escaping up the road. Could well catch Janos. We've still got half an hour left of this race.
Yeah, and obviously some of these drivers will be changing out the car and handing it over to the teammates. Lamborghini really is the the quickest car on track right now, apart from Dino Zamparelli, who's just crossed the line for his 9th lap. He is now 5.5 seconds ahead. We're going to have 3 cars crossing the line together now, going past our commentary box window right now. So they're around 2 car lengths between them. We can see with our own eyes, so close enough to make a move.
It's all as it was as we entered the lap. No one's making a move yet into those first 2 corners. Lewandowski now seems to have fallen back a tad from Blazek as Pisani closes in that beautiful 44 blue car, as we have the Trans Am coming in, Estraguas coming into the pits.
Yeah, now that is the driver change on starts in 38 seconds. So if that is a driver change, if this is one of the cars that does, I don't think it is. Yeah, he's driving this car on his own, so he shouldn't have to change it. That's probably a technical pit stop.
And we've had a change there, though. Lewandowski has lost that position to Pisani. Pisani finally able to break through into 5th. Lewandowski down to 6th, but he's going to try and stay with him. Pisani going to have to go to the inside line to defend. That forces the Lambo out onto the wider line.
And he's going to go for a second move. Dives down the inside. Brilliant move on Blazek for 4th place. And he's got it turned, and he's already up and ahead. That is a brilliant move. And no, he's disrespected the floppies and the bollards there. Double disrespect. Lamborghini's going to come in behind them. The 2 Porsches side by side. Could they make it 3 wide going down the second half of the Minstrel Straight? The driver change period of start is going 3 wide. Lamborghini in the middle. He's got the inside line and the outside line simultaneously. That's the opposite of a Mika Hakkinen there. Spa 99. Lamborghini ahead. Lewandowski has had quite a roller coaster in this race. He is back.
But he's gone out wide then. That's going to allow
4th.
Pisani to come back and take the tighter line, but he can't do anything about it just yet. And the real loser is actually Blazek.
Yeah, and how many of them are going to dive into the pits in this lap now the driver changes on? Here is a replay. So Pisani just dived down the inside, and that is the hairpin, or turn 4, at the start of the lap. Then at the chicane, brilliantly using the curb to rotate the car, stay ahead there. But on the exit, he disrespected a floppy, came ahead. And Lamborghini times it perfectly there. Like, very good spatial awareness, brilliant move.
3 wide going into that corner doesn't work, and it didn't work, and that's how Lewandowski managed to come out on top. So Navarrete Jr. in 3rd, Pisani 4th, Lewandowski now pits as we have the first of the pit stops. Lewandowski in, Blazek in, Gillian in, and further back in the field while Estraguas is already coming, we suspect, with an issue because it is only him driving that car.
Yeah, and that doesn't give us the opportunity to talk about the Trans Am Euro now if he's potentially at this race.
Gutted.
Yeah, warning flag, car 44, touching bollard at turn 5 and floppies at turn 9. I mean, disrespecting a track limit, it's clear you go over the white line. Disrespecting a floppy, you're basically just punching it in the face.
Arguably worse.
yeah, it's sad times for these floppies in France. Maybe we should get people on social media to, you know, set up an account for all the disrespected floppies out there at racing tracks. But we're getting distracted. Dino Zamparelli is still leading the way.
Hasn't come in yet, has he?
Yeah, 5.9 seconds ahead. You know, we haven't really talked about him much because we've been focusing on this battle behind, but he has done a brilliant job. Normally half a second a lap faster than those around him.
His debut in the GT Cup this year, coming off the back of 3 second places in the Porsche Carrera Cup GB after a switch really to tin tops from a pretty successful single-seater career. 2011 he was the Formula Renault champion, 2012 in F2, 2 podiums to his name, GP3 as well in 2014 was 6 podiums, so a very good single-seat career, but of course it all actually began in tin tops as he was the Ginetta Junior champion in 2008, so using all that knowledge of tin tops today, and it's doing him rather well, out in the lead ahead of Arthur Llanos, yet both have yet to pit. Your top 5 have not pitted yet.
Yeah, so they've currently got around 1 minute advantage. Well, the cars behind have got half-minute advantage to Mateusz Lewoski in car 24. So that's the first of the pitters who have exited the pits and returned to track. So driver changeovers, some of them we saw was 70 seconds there. That's going to drop them back. So I don't think Arthur Llanos is safe in second place right now. I think once he pits, it could change. Dino Zamparelli crosses the line again. He's actually a lap ahead of some of these cars now, as you can see them exiting the pits. So he is 6.2 seconds ahead of Arthur Llanos, who might actually have traffic depending on who he came at. Pits 190 car, that is Fernando Navarrete. He is finally returning to pits. You know, it's a bit of a shame for these drivers. They've just had a brilliant race, and now they've got to get out of the car and watch someone else have fun.
Yeah, well,
I'd be annoyed if I was.
Well, he has to switch over and let his dad take the wheel. How does he feel about that?
Blimey, I hadn't thought about it that way.
So he's done all the hard work, Navarrete Jr. What can Navarrete Sr. do now? Pitting in 4th currently, but so far a brilliant run of it. And as you say, I don't think Janos is safe in 2nd if they carry on that rate of speed. Lewandowski has come into 7th at the moment, but he's been into the pits.
Yeah, and depend, because most of the drivers look like they just did a driver change, no changing a tyre, so it's not like you're going to have too many laps to get the car up to speed. It's purely about the driver getting comfortable with the circuit. Very edgy on the brakes there for Artillanos. Didn't really look as comfortable on the curbs early on with Zamparelli when we could see them side by side doing that. They've now got 3 minutes and 46 seconds to do the driver changeover. Now, they could get away with doing another lap, and then I think they'd have to go into the pits to avoid a penalty for being late on that. We've now got Navarrete coming out of the pits. He went in the pits, he came out as a slightly older man. I wonder how that happened.
It's sort of the reverse Doctor Who effect, isn't it? Well, actually, no, it's not always the case, is it, these days? But and actually, that pit exit is quite tricky when you come out, because you're fed right onto the racing line. Yeah, it's a really difficult one for turn 1, and it can lead to a few clashes. I think we did actually have one in GT Open last year, possibly one of the Bentleys, as they tended to get into. Yes, they had a troublesome run. But we're watching 2nd place Janos in that Q1 by EMG Motorsport team. 3 times Dutch Supercar champions, so they know how to win. Currently doing a pretty decent job here in GT Cup, but they are 6.3 seconds back from Zamparelli, who was just absolutely playing a blinder here for Dino Zamparelli and his team. Yeah, and he'll be handing over to Jan Klingelberg for... And they do so now. Racing. Yeah. Very quick change. So what happens in this driver change right now? So obviously we change the drivers. Undo the belts, open the door, the usual stuff when you get out of the car. and that's... But you put your coffee in the middle. Pretty much, really, you have to get it as basic as possible, because you want the basics to be done as fast as possible, even though they do have a kind of minimum time to meet. And also making sure seat belts, once they are in, are really, really tight and secure, so you don't get done for any safety rule breaking essentially later in the race. And also, while you're doing that, you're not shouting per se, but you're telling them, there's marbles here, or watch out for this, or the car isn't handling very well at this corner. Look out for that, because the track is evolving, the tire life is changing, lots of things happening. Look at the brake dust coming out of Solieri's Lamborghini. So potentially, maybe all of the Lamborghinis are a little bit in trouble there. It hasn't been too hot, so the brake shouldn't be too bad. And with the long straights here, obviously you lose a lot of tyre temperature down the straights, but then you're heavy braking zones there, and also putting a lot of wear on the tyres and a lot of load because of these very long continuous corners as well. So it's actually a very mechanically harsh track. Well, Dino Zamparelli has come in and swapped out with Jan Klingelberg from Switzerland, who was with the Balfour team with the McLaren in GT Cup last year, so he's had a bit of a change of heart this year. Can he build, importantly, on that gap and that pace? Oh, and he slides through there, really making sure he's got those tyres up to speed. Nearly lost it, I think, on the rear. Oh, he's really struggling. He can't keep it on the road. Yeah, that's all to do with brakes, so he hasn't quite figured out where the braking zone should be there, because, and also the amount of feel you put into the brake. You don't, never in a racing car do you want to go pedal to the floor straight away. You want to ease the brakes on and feel the limit, especially with the clutch, obviously, as well. But to make sure that you aren't taking too much of the brakes or tyres, because you hit the breakdown and the tyres just aren't gripping. What's the point of braking, almost? So you got to get used to it before you hit the limit straight away. And also, he's been handed the car with a 10-second advantage. He doesn't need to push straight away. Yeah. But it is, well, the number 26, which comes in now for his first pit stop, as does Pisani. So those two have come in, which means all the current runners will have done their one change for this race. Pisani out, Bozzini in for the 44 Porsche as well. Great battle so far, isn't it? We told you it was going to be close this year, and although Dino Zamparelli managed to build up that great gap, it is now really down to that second driver in the form of Klingelberg, who looks like he's still squiggling coming out of some of the corners, so still getting to grips with the braking changes. The driver's change has now finished, but now it's important these drivers can make use of the gap that has been built for them. Yeah, and actually, Lewowski's only got a few seconds advantage. Well, Klingelberg's got 8 seconds, but the car behind Lewowski has just set the fastest lap of anyone, a 2:09, 0.667 seconds. So that lead Zamparelli built up has already been decreased by
well, it's actually increased a little bit at the pit stop phase, but it's then decreased by 2 seconds. We've now got the car that Janos was in coming out the pits, and they're going to be very close, actually. So we thought Janos, his car would be under pressure, but he's actually closer to the leading Porsche than he was beforehand.
Darmetko comes out in that number 26 Porsche as well, and Bozzoni in the background of the number 44 blue Porsche Cayenne Racing. The team from Italy. New team this year, but really a sort of combination of Sport Racing ASD and Siliprandi Racing, who have previous experience with GTs and all manner of racing. So a good team base there and doing well so far. But now that the pits have happened, really it's sort of they just got to sort themselves out, and then we'll see the real proper gaps appear.
Oh, and he is getting very unstable through this corner
really
as well.
Pushing it, isn't he?
Yeah, but there's battle behind as well with Darmetko and Lewowski. So 3 Porsches in the top 3, all looking like they got a little bit of struggles themselves. Lewandowski, who didn't hand over to anyone, he's in 4th place. Fastest car on track, pretty much. And actually he's going for a move straight away. Lewowski going to try and go down into the chicane. Both of them look pretty unstable on the brakes, but do get it stopped in time, sliding the rear end out. But he knows that if he can cover off that exit, then, yeah, he's made it.
And already forming a gap.
This is very interesting. I'm trying to figure out, you know, who's actually getting closer to who here, because obviously some drivers have handed over, some haven't, but some of these cars had bigger gaps before they entered the pits and actually came out purely because of the pit stop length.
Well, here it is, that number 24 Porsche getting very squiggly on the brakes and actually stops the number 28 Chinu to turn in. But he gets the move done. They both just about get it stopped in time. The 26, I should say, in the background there.
Yep, and he actually lost quite a bit of time doing that. He's going very slowly.
Slow car.
Lost a lot of time, not just a bit of time. The number 26, that is it, of Darmetko.
Darmetko, yeah, the Polish Q1 by EMG Motorsport driver going very slowly there, but I can't see an obvious problem.
He picked up a bit of speed, but we can clearly see the difference in speed to the cars that were around him. Green flags are being waved, so it's not being considered a tech problem. He has picked up speed, so that was through the end of the middle sector, because he lost around a second there, and then lost a little bit more. And we've got a new leader, Lewowski, ahead of Klingelberg. Klingelberg's not on the timing screens right now.
Well, I was going to say that gap was coming down ever more, but it was still about 3 seconds. He spun.
And that's how he dropped several positions.
That's Darmetko spinning. Lewandowski through as well. He'll be pleased to see that. That battle will have to rekindle itself.
Yep, and the car ahead right now is number 24 of Mateusz Lewowski, looking very, very comfortable on track. He is throwing that car into every corner. Lewandowski, 4.544 seconds behind in the Lamborghini, according to our timing screens. Darmetko in 3rd, 11.665 seconds behind. Now Nico Verdonk in the 4th place car. So on our timing screen, saying Jan Klingelberg losing several positions. Yellow flag still at turn 12. Now that was where the other Porsche span, and we really aren't seeing any pictures of Klingelberg. So I'm wondering.
He says it's down to 8. He's down to 8th at the moment.
Yeah, and he hasn't got final sector time, so it does look like on the previous lap he lost it somewhere. Hopefully we're going to follow our leader right now, Mateusz Lewowski, round the track, and we're potentially going to see Klingelberg loses another 2 spots.
And he does,
where he is.
All that hard work built up, so I'm assuming there must be a problem somewhere out on track, unless it's just an issue with the transponder, but I feel like we would have worked that out by now. So Lewandowski leads the way from Lewandowski.
Yeah, he has just crossed the start-finish line, so
he is in
2:10 final sector. As we see him move position, the Aston Martin, so change of position further down the order. This is very intriguing. We need to find out what happened to that car, because it led the first stint of this race.
Well, the car that was dominating in the hands of Dino Zamparelli has fallen all the way back to 10th place. We're not sure why at the moment. We haven't been able to see them on screen. The number 28 car of Klingelberg has fallen all the way down, 8.7 seconds back from 9th at the moment. Only ahead of the last runner, because Estragues is not in this race anymore. So he's second last from dominating to being right at the rear of the field. What has happened to that number 28 car?
And Nico Verdonk in that Aston Martin has taken it over. Really good job. He was several seconds behind. He's already chased down, obviously, Darmetko's span, but overtaken him. He's now, I believe, in 3rd place. So he's got the Aston Martin in top 3. The Aston Martin was in 8th place before the pit stop, so believe we're seeing our top drivers cross the line. Car 190 under investigation, speed limit pit exit. We've got another car in the pits.
I'm just seeing Estraguas is coming back out in the Ford Trans Am. So whatever they've done, they've fixed it, and they want to send him out on track again.
Yeah, very good job by the team there. You know, it's a car that you do want to show off on track, so credit to them for getting it back out there.
Great team effort by them to still try and finish this race with 15 minutes remaining. Currently, it is Lisowski on top from Lewandowski. Verdonk in third. The 2017-18 Nürburgring 24-hour winner in class is currently putting on a very, very strong performance in that 191 Pro Sport Aston Martin Vantage car, which looking very nice as well. From Verdonk, it is then Darmetko in fourth. Bozzoni is fifth. Navarrete sixth. Solieri seventh. Anto Zveski is eighth. Fortes in ninth. Klingelnberg, we're still not quite sure what happened. He was the race leader, took over from Dino Zamparelli, who started on pole, had a brilliant lead, had a big gap back to second, but has fallen back, and we're not sure why. Nothing coming up on the pit on our screens here in the comms box. But back from him though is Aristo and then Estraguas, who did pit early on in the Trans Am with some problems, has now got back out to try and finish this race, currently running last and a few laps down.
Yeah, we're currently following the battle for fourth on screen. Stefano Bozzoni and Fernando Navarrete Senior, the older of the two. You know, the Porsche behind was actually pretty much the fastest car at the end of the first stint, even faster than Dino Zamparelli. But this time round, you know, it's not really clear who is the fastest on track at the moment, but we do need to find out what happened to Engelberg's car, because that car was clearly the car to have, and now it doesn't seem to be.
Also, Navarrete was, well, it has just disappeared, but he was under investigation for pit lane speed, which is normally a pretty black and white rule. You can't exceed the pit lane speedometer, so he might well have a penalty coming his way if they've exceeded the pit lane speed. Currently in sixth right now, as we watch the 191 car, that Aston Martin Vantage Pro Sport Racing, the team from Germany fielding that car, the 2016 GT4 European champions. Christoph Esser, who heads up that team, is the team principal, watching on.
And he's pulled away 4 seconds on that last lap over Darmetko in fourth. So huge time difference, and he is faster than the car ahead as well. So Verdonk's chasing down the lead. Darmetko, I think, could slip back into the clutches of Navarrete and Bozzoni. And actually, Navarrete's just made a move, I believe. Yeah, and we go back to it. This is the battle, and he's getting very loose. Final corner, so the delayed reactions there as the two Porsches swap positions for fifth and sixth. So that was how Navarrete got past.
I enjoyed that. Lisowski leads the way though. There is the 191 of Nico Verdonk, and that is a drive-through car for 190s. As we re-watch that move, the number 190 Porsche on Stefano Bozzoni on the number 44, who slips down to sixth. Navarrete getting through to fifth, and it is a drive-through for car 190 of Navarrete, Fernando Navarrete, for exceeding the speed in pit lane. So he will have to come through, which is such a shame for him, because they were having a brilliant race up till then in the top 5 and chasing down Darmetko.
Yeah, and we're seeing some personal best sector times now being set by our top 2 cars, and Solieri in 7th place. Quite a race for him today. And we did see Klingelberg go past us as well. He's 1 minute 27 seconds off the race lead, down in 10th place. Really wondering still what's happened, but it's hopefully he'll gain a position back later in this race once the drive-through penalty has taken place for Navarrete, because that'll be approximately 35 seconds maybe to his race time. So he'll be in contention for battle with him further down the order. Currently following our leader, Teusz Lewowski. He is 5.7 seconds ahead, but actually the car behind, the Lamborghini of Lewandowski's, just set his personal best lap. A 2 minute 10.197, and he cuts across. Yeah, didn't want to disrespect the track limits there, so he got it back on track. Really, really locked up the brakes, and you could hear the tyres just sliding and squealing as they went through that corner.
But that's going to absolutely tear up his tyres, though, isn't it? And as we get to 11 minutes now until the race end, they're really going to start to feel if they're going to get any tyre wear issues. It's going to be coming now, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the clouds are really coming up.
Navarrete
is taking the drive-through now. All of their pit stops were of the specified time. That was fine. See him going on the brakes here.
Here he is then, yeah, he turns in, but just turns in with too much speed, can't carry it, and to avoid going on the blue stuff, has to sort of hop over those mini sort of yellow sausage curbs in that number 24 Porsche. Does a good job of holding on to it, to be fair, as we hear the drive-through penalty take place for Navarrete. Also, oh, we've got a move here, have we? That is the number 44 Bozzoni all over the back of D'Armecco.
That's a Lamborghini.
That's a Lamborghini, so it's not D'Armecco. So actually, is this a move?
Solieri. Solieri's got past.
Oh, he has. Solieri's through on Bozzoni. It's the other way round. Bozzoni losing out there on Solieri.
And Solieri had set his personal best lap the previous time round, 2 minute 12.041. Zalski up front is about 3 seconds faster than everyone else. Although D'Armecco, having said that, another 6 seconds slower than everyone around him now. So he's 20 seconds up the road from this battle, but losing time huge amounts by every lap. No clear, spins or anything. No obvious mistakes, but losing at least 2 seconds per sector.
The Porsche seemingly struggling a little bit in this second half of the race. And also, just to note, Alberto Estragues in that Trans Am car came in really early into the pit lane. Seeming problem, came back out, is now back in. So obviously that is a problem that they can't quite fix just yet, which is a shame for that team, because we all love seeing that Trans Am car out on track. As we watch Glauco Solieri pulling away now quite massively, already built up a 2.5 gap ahead of Bozzoni in that blue 44 Porsche Cayenne racing car. Bozzoni, the Italian, classic endurance racing is his note on his CV, so he knows how to race a GT car, but seemingly not able to keep up with the same pace as those Lambos. And here we have another replay as well of another. This is such an obvious overtaking place, isn't it? And that is the 190 car being done out by the 100, both late on the brakes. How late do you dare? But I'm afraid that's the 100 there, winning out.
And we can see them riding the curbs. I think on the full fuel tanks, the Porsches have a fairly high ride height so they can ride those curbs, but that does mean that same ride height still applies when you're on low fuel at the end of the race, and it makes the car a lot harder to handle. As we see him move here, that isn't for position, that is, I believe he's lapping the number 27 of Oscar Artiso, but you can see the difference between those two cars. So that's why some of these Porsches are dropping a lot of time, because the ride height and those settings were set for fuel tank, full fuel, and now they're on low fuel, and it's a really different handling car.
Well, is it possible with 8 minutes to go that we could see our race leaders in the form of Klingelberg and Zamparelli's now out the car lapped?
Potentially, yeah, because Lewandowski's actually just gone faster by 2 seconds over our leader, who's obviously lapping cars. So there's now only 3.3 seconds between those two. Then, like you said, the two earlier leaders, they are way down the order and could probably be lapped as well. It's a very, very intriguing battle right now. Although we know Klingenberg's on track, we haven't actually seen him at all.
No, so we don't know if he's spun out, if he's had a problem, or it's hard to imagine it's just on sheer pace, but because he's shown better form than that in practice, but it doesn't look like it's working out for him, whatever that problem may be. We'll have to do some investigation and hopefully bring that to you as soon as we know.
Yeah, and Lewandowski's really closing in. Another 7 tenths on sector 2, then another 2 tenths in the final sector, but he's going to have to try and lap this Porsche as well, so he's got that challenge. If I were Mateo Lazowski in the lead right now, I'd be just trying to maybe save tyre life. You've only got 3 seconds hand, but there's only maybe 3 laps of this race to go. And Lewandowski's going to get the move done early, so despite them being of different manufacturers, he's been far kinder to letting him pass than the fellow Porsche. As we see, a helicopter land just next to the pit straight. Very interesting.
Not quite in the race, that.
No, go back to the Aston Martin now, currently in 3rd place, still 14 seconds behind, but the fastest car on track for the last 3 or 4 laps, I think. 2 minute 9.808 last time by, personal best in the first sector and personal best lap as well. And actually Klingenberg is setting his personal bests, but is 1 minute 35 seconds off our lead car at the moment.
It's been a really good run actually for Verdonk in this second half, and as we watch a couple of replays here, is this the number 24 Lazowski currently leading the way in this race 1 of the GT Cup. just having a bump up against the curbs here, as is so often done. Not seeing too many car laps deleted for track limits, so that seems like it's they're behaving themselves all right in the race. But come qualifying, they were not. But it is Lisowski leading away from Lewandowski as we have the number 32 of Fortes. That is not for position, that move. It is for position, that move. It's Navarrete. He's lost out to that Porsche to switch for position there. That is down. So that is Navarrete down to 9th, and Fernando Fortes up to 8th in the AM battle there.
And Klingenberg could, no, I don't think he could close in on Navarrete with so little time to go, but he's 3 seconds a lap faster up front. Another 7/10 taken out the lead by Lewandowski. He's now 3.9 seconds behind after having to clear the lapped Porsche. So we've got 5 minutes left. It's a 2-minute 10 lap for our front runners. So we're going to have 4 minutes 20. They've got 2 sections to go, 2.5 laps potentially.
20 laps run so far. Lisowski leads the way from Lewandowski, Verdonk in 3rd, Barmetko 4th, Solieri 5th, Bozzoni 6th, Antonzewski is 7th, Fortes 8th, Navarrete 9th, Klingelberg in 10th, having led the race for so long in the hands of Dino Zamparelli, and Aristot is 11th, and Albert Estragues is no longer running in that Trans Am car, been in and out of the pit lane with problems, so I think they've called it a day now, and try and figure out what they can do before the race tomorrow. Here's the number 66 Lambo, though, that's had an absolutely brilliant race, battles all throughout. At one point it looked like the Lamborghini was going to absolutely rocket to the back of the pack, but he made up those places and now seems to actually be more of the dominant car and holding a sort of 4.4 second gap now behind leader Lewandowski, but it is still possibly could close up. But also remember, it's an AM car, so he's leading the way for the AMs at the moment, doing an absolutely brilliant job for that category.
Yeah, and these guys will get a race against the International GT Open drivers as well later this weekend, so big opportunity for them. Nico Verdonk, faster than anyone else on the previous lap, personal best, only 1/10 off the actual fastest lap of the race at the moment. So the pace is getting lower with the lower fuel loads. We're seeing him not actually closing in really on Lewandowski right now, but he's lapping cars as well. And we still haven't seen Klingelberg on track. Very mysterious.
Very mysterious. We will have to investigate that one as we look at Nico Verdonk, and I'm really impressed with their run so far. Actually, it's been sort of quietly solid up to 3rd for that Pro Sport team. Nico Verdonk, as I said, he's won at Nürburgring, he's won in GT4, he's won in DTM as well. So he knows how these cars operate and this style of driving. So don't rule him out. This is a really solid start for him in this race 1 of the GT Cup Open. Yeah,
and there's a battle for position now. So that is Stefano Bozzoni with the 100 Porsche of Jan Antonzewski, if that is how I can correctly pronounce it, behind currently for 6th place and Pro-Am position as well.
And Bozzoni currently holding on to 6th position, but now we've seen this move a lot. He's gone to the outside, Antonzewski. Will he be able to make use of it? He's really gone defensive there, but he's through already before the braking zone. So that is Antonzewski through on Bozzoni. He just didn't seem to have the straight line speed.
And we've just had 2 drivers set new fastest lap. Our leader, Lisowski, responding to the pressure behind 2:09 5.56, and Verdonk 2:09 5.41. So he's still 14 seconds behind our race leader, but he's going to get an extra achievement there by taking fastest lap.
2 minutes and 19 seconds to go. So what's that? We think one more lap. Do we think we'll get?
I think one more lap, yeah. And we still haven't seen Klingelberg. He's completed the 2nd sector of this lap, so
he is out there.
He's in these corners that these drivers are in as well, but we still haven't seen him.
How mysterious, but it is Lisowski that leads the way. Lewandowski and Verdonk, your top 3. 10.1 seconds Verdonk back from our leaders. And it is a real mystery what's happened to Klingelberg, because Dino Zamparelli led from pole, managed to create a gap, brought it in with a really healthy gap into the pit stop for the driver change. Klingelberg in, and although that gap did start to fall back slightly, he was still maintaining it. Then suddenly he dropped all the way down through the timings, and this is what we think is another great battle as well that we've seen. But it's the number 44. Just about holding on to that 100 car of Antonzewski, but that gap seems to be. Look at him being really G'd up there from the pit lane by a teammate, a team member. Come on, 1 lap to go, you can do it. There is your leader though, Lisowski in the Porsche. The AKM by Antonelli 2018 Italian GT champion. And who have you just spotted, Elliot?
I've just spotted Klingelberg go past us on the pit straight, so he is out there. We have spotted him. He's going at a pretty quick pace, actually, faster than most of the drivers ahead of him, apart from our podium fighting trio. And he's 6 seconds behind Navarrete Jr., who has kind of closed a bit back onto the back of Fernando Forte, but isn't going to reclaim the position with so little time to go. And it is now the final lap, so 4.6 seconds between our top two drivers. I think the win's fairly settled here, but fastest lap could go to any of these three on the final lap.
Well, I think the top two will be very happy either way, because although it might, well, I don't want to give the old commentator's curse, but it might be Lizowski who does take the overall win, but then it will be Lewandowski in second, but the overall win for the AM category. So either way, I think they'll both be pretty happy with their day's work.
And he just knocked over a bollard. Disrespecting of bollards is punishable.
Was it a bollard or was it a
It was a bollard. It looked solid as it rolled down the track.
Well, let's go and investigate and bring you the differences. But it's been a pretty, well, since Klingelberg fell down the field, Lizowski's kind of had the pick of the litter, really, and driven away with it.
Yeah, he's had a great time up front, and it's great to start the season with a win. Huge confidence boost as he comes through the final corners. And this Porsche in particular has looked far more comfortable in this second sector of the race than the other cars on the manufacturer. Now, thinking of which drivers nominated to start first, maybe some of these teams are thinking, oh, we should have done it the other way around, because some drivers are more comfortable on that higher fuel load and some are more comfortable on that lower fuel load.
Well, Lizowski, no stranger to leading and winning races. The Blancpain Sprint champion in 2020. He's been in the GT Open since 2018 with a podium in 2019 as well. The man from Krakow in Poland, 30 years old. He's also the VW Scirocco champion. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. There's quite a few famous Scirocco champions.
Yes, throughout the field they are. And a lot of VW Cup champions as well, actually. So learning their craft in the junior formula there quite nicely, and really putting it on display here. And brilliant that we'll be teaming up with the International GT Open as well later on. But this is the final lap now as we watch our race leader, Matthias Lizowski, leading the way in the number 24 AMP Racing Team PTTT Tech Support, who comes round the final corner, and it will be the win in France at Circuit Paul Ricard for the number 24 AMP Racing Team PTT Tech Support. Lizowski takes the win with the lead. Blazek as well doing a brilliant first stint in that. Lewandowski comes home in second place. The first of the AM cars, Nico Verdonk in the Pro-Am Aston Martin Pro Sport team there. It will be Darmetko coming round next, but he's quite a way back in fourth, who will cross the line, and Solieri will come home in fifth. We're having more bollards being flown over in these final laps. They've lost all disrespect. In sixth will be Jan Anton Zuski. Seventh, Stefano Bozzoni. Fernando Fortes in eighth. Fernando Navarrete, after such a good start, will come home in ninth. Jan Klingelberg. Well, what happened to that number 28? We will have to find out, because having led quite dominantly from pole, Dino Zamparelli handing in with a really healthy lead. Something has happened to Jan Klingelberg there that has forced him to go all the way down to finishing all but one in last. 10th place for him. Oscar Artisol in the AM will be 11th, and Albert Estragues didn't finish the race.
Although we still kind of got a battle going on for 7th, with Fernando Forte is a second ahead of Bozzoni. They're in the final sector right now, so I imagine the positions won't change there, but you never know. Coming through these final corners right now, Antozuski crosses the line in 6th, 1.5 minutes behind our leader, so we really had to wait a long time for those drivers to cross the line. As Forte now comes through the final corners, he does finish ahead of Bozzoni just by 2 seconds, and Navarrete right on their rear as well, 3 seconds behind them, and Klingelberg only 2.3 seconds behind at the end, so he really closed in, 5 seconds faster than the cars ahead.
That suggests it might well have been a problem then, but there are your race winners. The AMP Racing Team PTT Tech Support of Blazek and Lizowski take the overall win. Then it's Andrzej Lewandowski in second, the AM winner as well. Leader of the AMs there for the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Team. Gillian and Verdonk in third, Darmetko Janos in fourth, Glauco Solieri in fifth, Dowinicki and Anton Zuski in sixth, Fernando Fortes seventh, Pisani and Bozzoni will come home in 8th for Eugenio Pisani. Navarrete and Navarrete Jr. after that drive-through penalty come home in 9th. Zamparelli and Klingelberg, our pole sitters and our race leaders for so long in this race. Something happened there. They've come home in 10th. Mauro and Artisot in 11th, and Albert Estragues in and out of the pit lane didn't complete the race. But there is your race winner, Matthias Lizowski and Maciej Blazek for the A&P Racing Team PTT Tech Support from Poland in that Porsche 911 GT3 Cup Gen 2 car. Their sole focus this year is on the GT Cup for 2021, so this will be a really nice start for them because they don't have many other racing programs operating, so they're really all fully focused on this, and what a beautiful way to start.
Yeah, it's a great start for Porsche. Very much a race of two halves. I'd be really interested to see the average lap times of each of those drivers in each segment of the race and see. I imagine Zamparelli, although Zamparelli was quick, it was actually the lower fuel loads resulting in the faster lap times in the second stint. So these drivers are actually faster than the very dominant Zamparelli in the first stint. But all the same, you know, such a difference in performance in the first and second drivers that, you know, the order was thrown over almost within 2 laps.
A real race of two halves as Lizowski will pull in to that P1 position. Will he whack the bollard? No, plenty of room.
He's already been warned. They all have several times today. And Lewandowski has totally missed the second place spot by parking up out behind the #1 spot.
That Lamborghini is quite wide, so he might not be able to fit in. But there is your race winner, looking very happy in that beautiful. What colour would you call that?
I call that a Niki Lauda helmet.
Yeah.
Very nice, bright orange, brilliant stuff. And we can see they're going to be interviewed by Alfredo down in the pen. The press van. There's still Bollard on track at turn 4. So while we've got our top 3 Bollards here, our 4th place Bollard is at turn 4. Lewandowski out of the Lamborghini. He's done more racing than anyone so far because he's done the whole race. So a very exhausting job that must have been, particularly with how ill handling the car was early on. So the opposite of the Porsches, high fuel load was really struggling with the brake bias. Later on, the Porsches were looking very fast, not as fast even.
Nico Verdonk there as well, you saw, but there's your race winner. All thumbs up, smiling, very happy. As you would expect, the perfect start to their season, and all smiles as well between second place finisher Lewandowski. The overall AM winner as well, so a really good performance from then. And what a race of two halves there. That's the number 26 of Darmetko, who was and Janos, who were in a really fierce battle in the sort of the upper mid-pack there early on the race. The Pro Sport Aston Martin, which comes home in 3rd in the hands of Nico Verdonk and Gillian. Really great run from the sole Aston Martin car on the grid. The number 24 Porsche, your winners of Blazek and Lizowski in that black and orange Porsche for the A&P Racing Team, PTT Tech Support, who do hold the title for the longest name. And here's your race winner. Let's hear from him now.
Mateusz Lizowski, first win in the GT Cup Open. Nice race.
Yeah, it was really nice race. I would like to thank for my teammate Maciek Blazek. He was doing a really good job from beginning. So we had really good driving change. Afterward, I have a gap and spare to push myself, and we did it really good job with all team. So thanks guys for it. Yeah, first win. I hope it is not last one. So yeah, we are waiting for tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to Podium.
And it looks this year that there is a kind of Polish connection in the championship. Many drivers, many teams, and all good.
Yeah, of course. So we joined to the series. So we just talked with another Polish team and guys, and they want to join with us. So it is really good that we can show Polish national on international racing. So like we see, two Polish drivers, P1, P2. It is good.
Well done.
Thank you.
And where is Maciej?
Well, race one for the GT Cup Open got underway with Dino Zamparelli, your pole sitter on the left, on the right-hand side, as you look at it in that white Porsche. Actually fell back a little bit from second place, but was able to make late on the break and hold on to first place going through turns 1 and 2. A pretty clean start from all the runners in the GT Cup Open, finding their way through the Aston Martin Pro Sport team there in the orange and white Aston Martin. And then we had this great little battle which went on and on between the number 24, the 44 and the Lamborghini in the background of Lewandowski constantly fighting, who looked actually to not have the pace to keep up with the number 44. And then we had this brilliant moment going 3 wide, and actually that was when the Lamborghini could make the most of it and got back in front of them both. The driver changes as well all seemed to go pretty smoothly. Dino Zamparelli coming in with a healthy lead to swap over to Klingelberg. And there was your spinner though for the purple Porsche. They're not a good run for them either. Navarrete Jr. as well getting a pit lane penalty for speeding, which he had to take a little later on in the race. But there was your race winner, the number 24 AMP Racing Team PTT Tech support of Maciej Blazek and Matthias Lizowski, who take the first win for the GT Cup Open here in France at the circuit. Paul Ricard, he was a very happy chap. As are they. I think everyone's quite happy with that. And he was talking about a big Polish presence on the grid. 7 Polish drivers on the grid here. So they will be very happy with that. And it's a really, and 1 Polish team. So from my counting there. So a very strong race. But as you said, Elliot, a race of 2 halves. And we still no clearer to finding out what happened to Jan Klingelberg.
Yeah, from first place to 10th place in the space of pretty much a lap. And to finish 1 minute 50 seconds behind from being around 10 seconds ahead as the pit stops occurred. We did actually see him as he came out of the pits, you know, getting very sideways through the first few corners. But then after that, we just got radio silence pretty much.
Well, there was the your spinner that you saw, the number 26, Darmetko and Janos in that car, the Q1 by EMG Motorsport. The Belgian team, who managed to bring it home in the end in 4th, with Darmetko seeing the flag. And that orange and white Aston Martin Pro Sport there, finishing in 3rd. It almost doesn't, they make it, with that livery, almost doesn't make it look like an Aston Martin, oddly enough, I think.
Yeah, and the current design language of the Astons is a bit less distinct than what, you know, like the DBRs back in the day used to look like. And the GT4 car as well, because it has to fit the GT4 regulations, does look a little different to its GT3 counterparts.
And there were your race winners as well, as we watch on for the podium celebration, which Elliot is just below us here, and can we see anything going on? Well, they're getting ready. There they all are, their masks and their Michelin hats as well, ready to take the podium. Little wave there. Lewandowski. And actually, they didn't put a foot wrong really, as we place our 3rd place runners of Nico Verdonk and Rodrigue Guillon, who come home in 3rd for Pro Sport Racing. In 2nd place, Andrzej Lewandowski. Also the overall AM winner as well, so he'll be very happy with that run, Andrzej Lewandowski. And then there are your race winners, Matthias Lizowski and Maciej Blazek for the AKM by Antonelli Motorsport team. They were there to capitalise, and they made it stick. Your race winners, your 1, 2, 3 there.
Très fort, s'il vous plaît, c'est gagnant. Vous pouvez prendre les trophées dans les mains et bougez vos bouteilles de champagne, allez-y. Prenez les trophées.
Well, I think they'll pose with the trophies, and then your 1, 2, 3 will try and spray the champagne over everybody. Oh, photos first, though, the important things.
Bravo, messieurs, belle course.
Six very happy men there. For your first race of the GT Cup Open, we will have another race combined with the International GT Open Series, which will make for a 30-car grid, which is going to be really exciting, Elliot.
Yeah, it's going to be action-packed, and based on what we saw this race, it's going to be pretty a race of two halves again.
Oh, we didn't get any champagne.
No, potentially we will have an AM-specific podium or a Pro-Am-specific podium. I'm not sure how we can do this because normally you only have, you know, if it's an all Pro-Ams on the top three, you only do the Pro-Ams on their own podium. But because we've got a mix of them on the overall podium, we're going to have separate podiums for the classes potentially.
Well, it just highlights how well Lewandowski did actually to come home in second, well ahead of the next AM of Glauco Solieri.
I think one of the things there is after the switchovers, a lot of drivers really struggled when they took over those cars. Lewandowski took over his own car. He didn't have to worry about that. And he was immediately on the pace and looked so much more confident than everyone else that he took out a significant amount of time after those early struggles.
Well, then our second podium call as well.
So I think this is the... Well, we've only got one crew on the podium. I was going to say, but now
who's going to take those other two spots? Are we getting the Pro-Am or the AM?
Well, if it would have been AM, it would have been Fernando Forte on the third step. But
okay, so that is the Pro Sport team. So we are getting the Pro-Am podium now.
Yeah.
Pro-Am specific. So yes, that was in third. Masic Darmetko in the number 26 alongside Arta Janos,
who rather confusingly has old overalls on.
Yeah, on the right hand side of your screen there, and then in the orange and white overalls, that is the team Pro Sport Racing. And then your winners, your overall winners and your Pro-Am winners of Lezowski and Blazek.
Avec donc cette catégorie Pro-Am qui est récompensée. Merci messieurs. Champagne également si vous voulez.
Will we get a spray of champagne though? That's the question. They're picking up bottles, but I don't think we're going to get... Oh, no.
Spray one.
Verdonk wants to have a go.
You spray one and then you save the second for later. If you've got two podiums, then, you know...
Oh, I think Verdonk was ready to go there, but none of the others were interested. Well, there you have it. Your opening race for the GT Cup Open is done and dusted. A spectacular race of two halves. Do join us again for race two, which will be combined with the International GT Open Series. We look forward to seeing you then.